Starting a new chapter while continuing to protect and preserve a legacy. The historic Mason Temple, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his final speech before his assassination, is getting a $1.2 million grant tonight. Action News 5's Michaela Redmond joining us live outside the temple. And Michaela, you were there for this big announcement.
Joy, it was a beautiful moment inside of Mason Temple this afternoon with speeches and the check for $1.2 million being presented to Kojic officials. That money will be used for long-term sustainability and technology upgrades.
We have an iconic building, a landmark. There's no facility like Mason Temple in the world. Somebody say amen. Amen.
A building coming to life during a very difficult time, World War II, when Bishop Brandon Porter says steel and other materials were hard to come by. After its completion, Porter says it became one of the largest Black-owned worship facilities in the country at one point. And over 80 years later, it's still standing tall.
Where faith has always met history, and where the ordinary has always produced the extraordinary.
It's also the spot where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his final speech before being assassinated at the Lorraine Motel. Now, as part of a nearly $18 million package for Memphis projects, Mason Temple has received $1.2 million for restoration, for long-term sustainability and technology upgrades.
You can't see anything about civil rights without hearing some of the words that echo throughout this place on April 3rd, 1968. You cannot replicate history in place. You can't build another building that can give you the same feeling that was had right here in between these walls.
Mason Temple is also the headquarters for the Church of God in Christ. Keith Kershaw, the COO of Kojic, says the grant will also help fulfill community needs better and a promise to bring one of their 8 annual events home to Memphis.
Our April call, our business meeting, and then some of our other events that would be a great footprint here in the city of Memphis.
That grant package also includes over $3 million for the restoration of Claiborne Temple that was intentionally set on fire in April of last year. Reporting live at Mason Temple, Michaela Redmond, Action News 5.